I think for me, films are one of those rare things where you can be 5, 10 or 50. It still has that same alluring effect.
There's something about sitting in a dark room with hundreds of strangers and all laughing at the same thing or being scared by the same thing.
It's just the best art form. Cinema is just a better form of life.
Anyone could be watching the same thing and 10 people can come away with 10 different ideas, notions of what happened, the motives behind characters, what different things meant. I just love how universal it is.
There's just something about being in a cinema with about 50 other strangers and engaging in that.
I mean, how many times have you wished when you kiss your partner that there was swelling romance music playing at the time? That's what movies are like.
I mean, for me, the main attraction came from a very young age because I think the first film I remember watching was E.T.
Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Big love of mine from when I think I was like 3.
I think one of my earliest memories, not just my earliest cinematic memory, was going to see Toy Story when it first came out.
And I remember sitting with my family and it was as if it was this novelty that I'd never known before. So I was used to watching cartoons and then suddenly this amazing, well at the time it was amazing, special effects and this weird alien, and I was just like, oh my god, what is this? This is amazing. And then from there I think that was the most memorable film that I can remember watching, and then it kind of just carried on from there. Wow.
The music, the amazing animation. That was some groundbreaking animation, and the whole Tim Burton aesthetic and humour, because I love his early work.
I saw it when I was 5 with my mum and my 3-year-old brother, and I that must have been the first time I'd ever been to a cinema. And I still vividly, remember remember sitting in that dark room watching this huge screen and these characters that I instantly fell in love with and understood. Everything about that film clicked. And even now, I mean, I watch it probably once a month.
You are a toy! You weren't the real Buzz Lightyear, you're an action figure! You are a child's plaything!
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
I remember dragging my mum, forcing my mum to take us to see it again that exact same day.
I think the film that I remember making the biggest impact was Vanilla Sky, and I watched it for the first time when I was about 15 or 16 I think, and it was just one of those nights where you flick on Channel 4 and you just want to watch whatever's on, and I watched it all the way through and I just was left feeling completely enthralled and amazed by it. The way that the cinematography, the script, all the things that I didn't actually analyse at the time, it was just something that I'd never really known before. So for me, it just kind of gave me this inspiration, and I just remember when the credits were rolling and I was just kind of left there, my mouth open and just completely amazed by it.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
I've recently decided that my favourite film is Back to the Future. It's between Back to the Future and Taxi Driver, but Taxi Driver is a new entry because I only watched it recently, so I'm sticking with Back to the Future right now. Perfect casting, memorable soundtrack, awesome plot, very emotional themes, and awesome effects for the time on the car, on the DeLorean. Yeah, just when they're trying to get up to 88 miles per hour.
The Shawshank Redemption was one of the first films that I became obsessed about when I was about 13 years old, where watching films was more than just a pastime, more than just something to do with mates on a rainy day or on a Sunday afternoon with your family. It made me appreciate cinema as a whole much more. I think it's a beautiful film, and even though I think it's like number 1 on the IMDb's top 250, so it's not like I've picked a niche little film. But it really is one of my favourites, just because that story is so powerful yet so simple, and it's shot so powerfully and so simply as well. Frank Darabont is a director I love all his films. The cinematography as well. I think it was the first time where I had seen the name Roger Deakins, and then when I saw it again, I recognised that he had this link between these different films, and there's a reason why this film, or whatever film it was, and The Shawshank Redemption looked the same. It's a film that I can't pinpoint exactly what I like about it. I mean, to put it simply, it's just a really good story told really well, and you forget that you're watching a film. You're watching real people, and you're egging them on, and you feel for them. But it's as basic as the story. Those two central characters, Andy and Red. Shawshank Redemption was one of the first films that got me obsessed about film.
I don't think you ought to be doing this to yourself, Andy. This is just shitty pipe dreams. I mean, Mexico is way the hell down there, and you're in here, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, right. That's the way it is. It's down there, and I'm in here. I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
I mean, I don't think there is a specific film that made me think, okay, now I want to get into filmmaking. And I think the process of me deciding was I think it was always there. There was never a set decision to say, yes, I am now going to be a filmmaker.
It wasn't a particular film. It was when I met a very successful photographer, because at the time I was interested in photography. I didn't know what type of photography I wanted to do. I just enjoyed composing shots with a camera. And obviously he's in his 50s, or was it in his 50s at the time, and he said to have a successful career in something you have to be really passionate about it. And I was like, what am I really passionate about? And watching movies at the time was what I was most passionate about. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could give it a try at making some stuff. And got a video camera, which at the time I got for making skateboarding videos, but then started making some short fun films with starring my friends.
I don't think there was a single instant or a single film particularly that made me decide I want to be a filmmaker. I think ever since I found out that there were people behind the scenes, hundreds of people behind the scenes to make just the simplest conversation in a cafe between two people. When I found out that there were hundreds of people behind that single image, I wanted to find out more, and I guess that inquisitive part of myself filled in all the gaps. And when I think I was watching an old episode of Star Trek with my mum, and something, I can't remember what happened, but something in it made her say, oh, they must have got a different director this week. And I wanted to know what that was, and when I found out that there was this guy called a director who had such power and command and influence over every single thing in the film, I wanted to do that job, even though I didn't really know what it meant. So it wasn't a single switch that went, oh yeah, I'll do that. I think it's just a build-up, a big build-up of watching a lot of behind-the-scenes footage, DVD bonus features, watching these master craftsmen at work and being in awe of them and wanting to be one of them.
I mean, for ages I wanted to be a policeman, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to be an actor. But film, I don't know, I think it was just the magic and the mysticism of film that it was never really an option not to.
There's something inside me that thinks I can tell a story in my own unique way that perhaps other people won't be able to tell it. I want to primarily entertain people, to show them something that they haven't seen before, or to show them something that they know in a new and fresh way.
I think I want to tell stories to people. I think that's the things that made me enthralled as a child and even today, the power that film has influencing people. As opposed to all the other jobs, filmmaking just has the ability to influence so many minds, and as well as it being a political thing, it's also an entertainment thing, so it's kind of one of my, I want to indulge in my own ideas, not so much for an audience but for myself as well, because there are things in my head that I'd like to see that people haven't done, and I just think, well, why not? And then if a lot of people like it and I get a bit of money, then bonus, really.
That moment when you're editing together footage and it just fits perfectly, or the soundtrack just works perfectly over the top, is an experience that I'm yet to find anywhere else.
It's still got a wow factor that, you know, across 2 hours where we've moved the camera about so much to get all the different setups for a particular scene, to be able to sit down later and after a few hours cut all this stuff together, and even though it's a minute's worth of footage, it still gives me a joy to see it all come together, and like, oh, that looks like a real film. Maybe I'm not you know, a complete waste of space.
For our dissertation we had to come up with a proposal, an idea, something that would be different.
We had to make a short independent film for our third year at university.
Everything I'd done in the past had been short, so we'd never made anything longer than about 10 or 15 minutes, either as individuals or as a group. And this dissertation in the third year, it would be my last chance to have a go at filming something, you know, before I got a real job and didn't have time to do so, really.
Prior to that, we'd kind of done short films, small little projects, stuff that didn't really make an impact on ourselves personally, because the whole while when you're making films at uni, it's supposed to be a learning curve, but this was the opportunity for us to make something that actually made a difference to our lives, or a personal story or something like that. So I wanted to try doing something that was personal to me, so I made a unique story that was to do with you know, issues of sexuality in society.
It came to me after New Year's Eve 2010 going into 2011. I just had a really underwhelming night, and all the hype that is built up around it just seemed really pointless. And then when I was trying to think of a film idea, that was stuck in my mind, and I wanted something that kind of explored that. Obviously, you can't really answer these kind of questions of why it's so important to us, but I just wanted to possibly raise a few questions, maybe make the audience rethink about their opinions of the night, and so that was the basis for the script.
And so I really wanted to push myself and try and get as much done as possible. So the action thriller genre, it's a genre where you can run about with a camera in central London, or run about on campus and sort of have fake gunfights and fist fights. But it's also a genre where you can have two people sat in a cafe talking to each other, and you can build tension and you can have romantic beats. So I tried to, I don't think it was a case of spreading myself thin, I just wanted to have more pies to stick my hand in, if that's the right metaphor.
Yeah, I can say that it's the project that I'm most proud of, just because it was so personal to me, and I'd really researched into it, and we have to do a written part as well, so I'd researched into it, and I just found that when we were actually making the film, I was working with you know, I was working with Jake on camera, Pat, cinematography and sound, so they were people that I'm used to working with, but they understood what it meant to me. So we all understood how hard it was to come up with something that was going to be sufficient enough to produce a dissertation out of.
Heavy dialogue, a lot heavier than anything I've shot so far. Many more characters than anything I've ever shot before. Deals more with a social topic than anything I've done before, because usually we do thrillers and comedies, and although this is a comedy, it's more socially relevant, I guess. So it's exciting.
I just wanted to say, yes, I've done that genre, I've tried to create tension there, I've tried to create romance there, I've created an entertaining action scene. And it was ambitious, so maybe I was in a bit over my head, but I'm proud of it. It's you know, it's an entertaining action film that's, you know, very of its genre. It's fairly cliched, but I make no apologies for it being so.
Working with multiple actors was a challenge, and an extremely small crew was a challenge. So it's such a learning curve. You just realise how overwhelming shooting a film with 2 or 3 people can be when you've got to schedule it all. But when it all comes together in the end, it's worth it. It's the best part about filmmaking, watching the finished product.
I did something that was very entertaining. I did something where, you know, I expelled that 13, 14-year-old part of myself that had wanted to make a genre film so many years ago, but I never really had the chance to do so, and this time I did. And so I got that out of my system, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was bloody hard work, long hours, some miserable shooting days, but it was a laugh, and it definitely cemented in my mind that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. You know, there's something, even though you're standing in a boggy field at 6:30 in the morning and it's pissing down with rain, and your actor's shivering on the floor and your DP's shivering on the floor trying to hold the camera to him, and you're trying to get these words out of everyone, and you're trying to create this dramatic death scene, even though you're just a couple of blokes standing in a field. I love that, because again, you get it in the edit, if you chuck music in, you chuck sound effects in, you know, you sort out the beats between the 2 characters, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like seeing all this hard work, this months of preparation and writing and scheduling and auditioning, seeing it all come together.
I think it was just an amazing experience, and it's probably going to be the biggest thing that I'll remember at uni.
Coming to study film at university was worth it. Firstly, because you get the great university experience of being a student, which I feel I would have regretted if I had missed out on. Secondly, you get to meet people that are similarly passionate, which then you work as a crew and actually make stuff. You can't make something on your own. You have to meet people like-minded and willing to stay up till 6 AM shooting something.
I'm glad I came to university. I'm glad I met the people I did. I'm glad that I studied what I did, and it's been a lot of fun, and I think it's prepared me for a career in film.
I think going to university or a film school, it really provides you that opportunity to gain the skills that you need to get into the film industry, and if you whack a CV on their desk and say, look, I've done all this stuff, they're going to be more impressed than if you say, yeah, I've just come out of sixth form and I worked at the Co-op, which is what I did initially.
I think I made the right decision by studying film at university as opposed to going straight to something like film school, which I couldn't afford, or have gone straight into the industry as a T-boy. I've learned so much. I think I'm a completely different person now than I was 3 years ago. I think before I came here, I thought it would be, right, give me the camera, I'm going to go off and shoot something and edit it, and I'll see you at the end of the week. And I quickly learned that that's not how films are made, and that's not how films should be made. The biggest lesson I learned was in collaborating with people, and with being in the same room with like-minded people. You all want to make a good film.
I think go to film school if you just want to do the technical stuff. I recommend going to uni just because you learn more about the theory behind it, the history behind it.
Theory side, definitely benefit from, because I had no interest in it before I came to university. It was all technical is what I was interested in. But after you get into it, it's really fascinating stuff. The relevance of these films, all films are socially and sometimes politically relevant, and you don't really consider it as a teenager watching Michael Bay films, which probably aren't socially relevant, but it's fascinating once you start reading critical theories on stuff. So there's probably the three main things: meeting like-minded people, university experience as a student, and learning the theories of films have vastly improved my my love for the medium.
In 10 years' time, I mean, I haven't really thought about it. In 10 years' time, I'd ideally like to just be making films. I don't really care at what level I'm making them, whether it's a small independent company, or if I'm freelance, or if I'm working in some big studio. But I just think I'll still be making films. So for me, it's just more a question of how I'm going to get there. So I'm hoping to get into film schools right now, and yeah, just keep going.
Don't know about 10 years, but in 15 years, me and Pat are hoping to be on the stage at the Oscars. So the next 15 years, the world is our oyster.
In about 10 or 15 years, I'd love to
be on the Oscar stage.
I'd love to be on the Oscar stage. I'd love to be in a position to be able to say, look, I've written something, now I want to direct it, and someone says, yeah, okay, go and do it.
Just being in the business of entertainment, it just seems so exciting, and that's what I hope to pursue.
So I want to direct. I want to be involved in creating stuff. I want to be working with people that want to make stuff as well, and that are as passionate as I am about it.
The future is open for you to do whatever you want, and good luck, really.